Another week, another Friday release. Looks like the film industry is getting back on its feet. With his latest outing, Jhund megastar Amitabh Bachchan is finally back on the big screen after two of his films, Gulabo Sitabo and Chehre, premiered on the OTT platform. That's not all. What also makes Jhund extra special is the fact that it has been directed by filmmaker Nagraj Manjule, who is best known for Marathi film Sairat. Joining me is our entertainment editor Tushar Joshi, who saw this film a day ahead of its theatrical release. So let's find out his first reaction. Tushar, from the look of the trailer, Big B's Jhund came across as gritty. Does the film match up to it?
Absolutely. Dipali, I think the word gritty bears a lot of resonance with the director of the film, who's Nagraj Manjule. For those who have watched Sairat, know the look and feel of a Nagraj Manjule film. He's not your run-of-the-mill director. He doesn't do the regular romances, the regular love stories, or even the regular dramas. So when the trailer for Jhund came out and when we saw Mr. Bachchan at the forefront of the film as the poster boy of the film, there was a lot of excitement. Also, there was a lot of build-up. There was a lot of anticipation as to what will the film look like. We saw the teaser and the trailer. We knew the story is about a bunch of boys, misfits, who are being mentored by Mr. Bachchan. And how that story culminates into its climax is what the film is all about. Jhund also is interesting because it takes a break from what Bollywood has been offering in the last few weeks and months. It's not your regular run-of-the-mill love story or not your regular run-of-the-mill drama. It's not even like Sairat. In fact, Jhund is a film that can't be put in a particular bracket or can't be even typecast. The reasons are twofold. One is the subject and the way it has been dealt with. And two is the fact that the cast of the film, apart from Amitabh Bachchan, are all regular young boys and girls who have been either theater actors or have been picked up from auditions. You will not see any other name apart from Amitabh Bachchan in the film who calls out for, okay, here's a Bollywood star and here's the reason why we need to go and watch the film. And the fact that Nagraj Manjule and Amitabh Bachchan have come together for the first time in itself is great news.
Tushar, also if you could give our viewers a sense of Amitabh Bachchan's performance in Jhund. I believe he plays the role of a football coach. Personally also, he himself is an ardent football fan. What do you have to say about that?
You know, anybody who wants to give his opinion on Mr. Bachchan's acting will just fall short and stand in his long shadow. I mean, when it comes to Mr. Bachchan and you look at his body of work, all we have to do in the theater is sit and just look at him in awe. Because he so beautifully, so masterfully leaves this whole Amitabh Bachchan superstar persona back home and becomes this football coach. He becomes this guy who literally has hope, faith, belief in these boys, in these street urchins, in these misfits who are all either drug peddlers or thieves, who come from impoverished families, have issues going on in their lives. So for Mr. Bachchan to play this character in itself is not just a challenge, but it's a brave step. And the fact that, like you mentioned, he is an ardent lover of football. He's a huge soccer fan, and so is his son Abhishek. So that in itself brings that magic onto the screen. You literally see him smile when he gets that football in his hand, or you feel that cheer in him when you see those boys running on the field. You know, he doesn't have to do the theatricals, he doesn't have to do the dramatics, he doesn't have to go over the top. And in that sense, that's where the beauty of the film and the performance lies. He has these really long monologues and these scenes where he's speaking to these boys, but he keeps it so subtle. He underplays these scenes. He just lets his body language, his eyes, even the anger that is simmering on his face when he's talking to these boys, all of that has been dealt in such a beautiful manner.
I also want to ask you, what is the strongest point of the film and does it live up to filmmaker Nagraj Manjule's Sairat?
You know, I think it would be unfair to compare Jhund to Sairat. Sairat is a completely different ballgame. It's a completely different experience as somebody who's gone to watch that film. And Jhund is a departure from that. Jhund is a completely different story. It's not just a story of underdogs, but it's the story of the human spirit. And I think that is where Nagraj Manjule has been able to go into some new territory. And if anybody has seen a Nagraj Manjule film, you know that technically it's going to be a fine film. When I say technically, I mean the background score, the camera work, the dialogues, the way the film has been shot, that whole rustic, raw appeal. You know, there are these shots when you actually feel like you're entering these slums and you're entering the rooms and houses of these kids when you see them up close and personal. In itself, that is where the film sort of just becomes so much bigger than what it has set out to do. And I think you have to give marks to Manjule to try this different spaces, different territory, and of course, full marks to these boys and these girls, these kids, right? To stand in the same frame as Amitabh Bachchan and to look up to him into his eyes, say those dialogues with that conviction must have taken a lot of courage. And the fact that Manjule has been able to bring it out of these kids in itself is so fascinating to watch it on the big screen. Having said that, the film does have its fair share of flaws. It is long, it is lengthy. The first half does take a bit to sort of catch on, and the second half is where actually the action sort of hits a crescendo. So, as an experience, Jhund is definitely a film that you should watch simply because it gives you bang for your buck. And I think two simple reasons to watch the film. That we started the whole conversation with Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, and in itself, he is a treat to watch on the big screen. We've seen him on OTT on the smaller screen for the last few months, but now when you see him on the big screen, you know why you miss him, or miss his performance on the big screen. And for those who have watched Sairat, it is a treat to see these cameos by Rinku Rajguru and Akash Thosar, the two leads of Sairat. They have interesting roles and short-lived roles in the film, but just to see these familiar faces again in a Nagraj Manjule film will bring a smile to your face.
Tushar, sports drama always works wonder on the big screen as well as at the box office. Amir Khan also watched Jhund and got a little emotional. Several celebrities, including Dhanush, praised Big B's performance. I want to know your thoughts on the rating. Did he and his team manage to score the perfect goal? Is it worth watching?
It is definitely worth watching. I think it's a perfect goal in the sense that whatever they set out to do, they did accomplish that. They dealt with a story which is very different from what Bollywood is offering us right now. It's not a biopic or it's not a love story. It's not a remake. So it's a break. It's a welcome change from what we've been used to seeing in the last few months. And having said that, just to watch Mr. Bachchan interact with these kids and Nagraj Manjule create that magic and bring that chemistry out between this huge school of acting and these raw kids and their energy, and putting them together in the same frame and seeing that fireworks, I think it's beautiful. Which is why I'm not surprised that Amir or Dhanush or other celebrities who have watched it have taken to social media and have expressed how the film has touched them. I'm giving this film a solid 3.5 on 5. And I think the reason why I'm not going beyond the rating is simply because of the length of the film, the fact that the film does take its time to build up that crescendo. Despite the odds, it's highly recommended. I think from all of us at India Today, we would recommend you to watch Jhund because it's an experience you don't want to miss for anybody who's a fan of Amitabh Bachchan, for anyone who's wanting to know what is Nagraj Manjule up to next. Jhund is the perfect ticket to buy this weekend.
All right, so our entertainment editor has given Amitabh Bachchan's Jhund 3.5 stars out of 5.